Hi, David Vizard here, and you're watching PowerTec 10. What I want to do here is shoot a short video as an addendum to the rocker video I did be about episode 16, I think. There's lots of things that I didn't say in that that on reflection I think need bringing forward. First, let's look at the range of off-the-seat ratios compared with over-the-nose ratios that are available. I have seen rockers, now I'm including shaft rockers here as well. I have seen and tested rockers which are as low as 1.1 off the seat and as high as 2 to 1 over the nose. Now let me give you a few tips on these rockers. If you are testing a rocker which has a slow rate off the seat, it is unlikely that you will have to change anything that you had before. I say unlikely, that doesn't rule it out, right? I had a set of rockers where the ratio was slightly less coming off the seat, and so the overlap triangle didn't change, and I found that the advance stayed the same, right? Advancing or retarding when replacing the 1.65 rockers with a 1.85 did not change. Anyway, here's a point. If you change the rate at which the valves come off the seat, it affects not just the possible intake center line that you're going to use, but also the lobe center line angle that's optimum. Now here's a neat little trick. Nearly all cams that are sold are on too wide a lobe center line angle. That is to kind of protect the cam grinder from the stroke-a-McGurk syndrome, which is if some's good, more's better, and too much is just right. The average guy tends to think that having a little over the top on the cam is not going to hurt, it's going to probably benefit. Now, that's not always true. So let's look at what happens when we put in a cam where the lobe center line angle has been widened to kind of protect the end user from their over enthusiasm. Let's consider two prime examples here. A 350 Chevy, well, probably be 355 because it's 30 will be almost certainly 30 over, and a 383. Right, both need different lobe center line angles. A typical 10 to 11 to 1 small block Chevy with a stock stroke and 355 inches with a typical 202/16 valve setup is going to want a 108 degree lobe center line angle. That's with maybe a 155/16 rocker. Now let's say you put a 1.7 rocker on it, on the intake and the exhaust. What happens here is because the lobe center line angle is too wide, there's not enough overlap period there, right? So when you stick on a set of rockers that increase the rate off the seat, that means that the optimum lobe center line angle tightens up by about a degree. So the result is the cam now moves into a more favorable timing event situation, and your rockers therefore produce good results. Two reasons: one, the added lift, and two, the partial correction of the lobe center line angle for that particular setup. So how much horsepower can you get? Typically, if you've got 110 lobe center line angle and the engine's making, say, 380 odd horsepower and it's about 10 to 1, and you replace the 1.6s for a genuine 1.7, you will pick up somewhere in the region of 20 to 25 horsepower. 25 is about it. 22 is not uncommon. That's a good return. Now let's say that you put a set of high lift rockers on an engine that's got the right lobe centerline angle, or even say 1 degree too tight. What will happen is there will be very little power gain, and sometimes there will be a slight power loss. You're going to say, well, put high lift rockers, what could possibly go wrong? Simple. You've now got too much overlap triangle. So if you install rockers, high lift rockers, and the power does not increase or only increases a small amount, that is because you've got the lobe centerline angle pretty much on the money. If the power increases a large amount, then that's because the lobe centerline angle is probably too wide by as much as 2, maybe 3 degrees or so. So if you know you've got a camshaft with too wide a lobe centerline angle, high lift rockers are definitely a good move, right? You will see the benefit of those right away. Now let's look at 383. That needs high lift rockers. A 383 needs a lobe centerline angle in the range that we're talking about of around about 106, maybe at most 107. I tend to opt for 106. Let me point something out here. It's better to err on the slightly tight side than it is on the loose side if performance is your sole objective, right? For most street cams, that extra degree on lobe center line angle tightening is not the end of the world. Yes, the idle may be a bit more lumpy in that, but hey, as long as the cam wasn't too big to start with, that will work. Now let me tell you something here. Having a cam on the right lobe centerline angle compared with one that's 2 or 3 degrees off means that you don't need as long a cam to make that torque and horsepower. For instance, a 275 degree on 108 for a 350 will out horsepower a 280 on 110. Well, it'll out torque it and it will probably match it for horsepower. So lobe centerline angle to make torque and horsepower is actually more important to get that right than it is duration. What else do I need to tell you? Yes, so last point here. If you're going to put a cam in and you pick a too tight a lobe centerline angle, you'll know when you do a test of the rocker ratio, high versus low, and the high ratio makes no more horsepower or even less. What else can I talk about here? I think that's covered what I needed to say about the additional information from my first video on this. Last point here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and that like button. Thank you for watching. I appreciate your attention. Oh, and thank you all of those who had a comment to make that was giving us advice on how we might improve our videos.